much indeed. Thank you. It's like being watched. Well, I'm back, which proves to me that the power of prayer does not work. And it would appear, actually, that during the last series I was slightly outspoken. And the BBC have asked me to, during this series, to hone it down slightly. And I'm sorry I can't agree with the BBC, because otherwise it would be, good evening, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen, good night, and may your God go with you. I don't know why it is, but I actually seem to always start the series during what is called a political crisis. And as you're aware, we're going through one at the moment. It's an economic crisis. Our economy has gone bad. But I have the Irish philosophy that I think a bad economy is better than none at all. They say that the International Monetary Fund is worried about the pound. They're worried about the pound. They've got millions of francs and dollars and all that. We have nothing. The economic problem at this moment is so bad that the Treasury Department has decided to print a £50 note. And they say if it's successful, they will print another one. One of the accusations that is leveled at the government is that the government does not govern, that the real power of the country is in the hands of the Union, and that the government, before they can actually make any sort of decisions, always consult the TUC. And as Mr. Callaghan said to Mr. Len Murray, tomorrow is Wednesday. And Len Murray said, what about it? He said, well, is that all right with you? And people say that the public are apathetic about politics nowadays. I don't agree. I think that the public are politically aware. Even the children today are politically aware. For example, you get a child who will go to his mother and say, Mother, can I stay up and watch television? And the mother will say, no. So the child will go to his father and say, Mother says I can't watch television. And I'm asking you, can I watch television, Daddy? And the father says, yes. So what the child has done by asking that question is to lobby successfully and cause a division against the opposition. He has also formed a coalition with his father, which is very good for the child, but the father is in trouble later on at night in bed when he is trying to form his own coalition with the mother. She suddenly becomes conservative and votes no. And we have the brain drain in this country. All the parties say that they are worried about what they call the brain drain. The best brains in Britain are leaving. Does anybody here know of a politician who has left this country in the last 10 years? One did, but they brought him back and gave him 7 years. I was talking to a man the other day who was leaving, decided to immigrate, decided to leave this country. And I said, why are you leaving? He said, it's homosexuality. I said, what are you talking about? He said, 300 years ago, if you were homosexual, you were hanged, drawn, and quartered. 100 years ago, if you were homosexual, you were hanged. 50 years ago, if you were homosexual, you were flogged and given 20 years in prison. 20 years ago, if you were homosexual, you were fined £200 and sent to prison for 2 years. 5 years ago, if you were homosexual, you had a small fine and you were pardoned. Got off with a warning. I said, well, what are you leaving for? He said, I'm going before they make it compulsory. One of the things about Britain, actually, you can always tell the way a person votes by the paper they read. For example, the Times is read by people who run the country. The Financial Times is read by people who own the country. The Daily Mail is read by the wives of the people who own and run the country. The Daily Mirror is read by the people who think they run the country. The Guardian is read by people who think that they should run the country. The Morning Star, or as it used to be known as the Daily Worker, is read by people who think that the country should be run by another country. The Daily Express is read by people who think that the country should be run as it was. The Daily Telegraph is read by people who think that it still is. And the Sun is read by people who don't care who rules the country as long as they've got big boobs. It might appear that I'm being slightly hard on politicians, but in actual fact I've got a very soft spot for all of them. It's a bog in the west of Ireland. Anyhow, enough of this serious debate. Let's get on with the show. I think, as you're aware, we have a small group of very talented and versatile actors who help to make the show together. Some of you will remember, others are newcomers. And I suppose the best way to introduce our old friends and our new friends is to see them work.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the racing at Newbury. Today, the card has favoured the lightweight jockeys, because the going here at Newbury is very soft indeed.
Dr. Benson? It's Mr. Abbott here. Yes, that's right. Look, it's about these slimming pills you've given my wife. Yes, well, there seems to have been a bit of a side effect. Oh, would you? Oh, that's marvellous. Oh, I'd be most grateful. Right. Thank you. It's all right, Gladys. The doctor's coming.
Oh, it's no use. I've lost it. If I cannot paint, I no longer wish to live. Oh, goodbye, a cruel world.
Raymond! Oh, Raymond, no, you can't, you mustn't. You cannot deny the world your God-given gift. Oh, no, my darling, you who had so much to give. So much sensitivity. Oh, my darling, you sit in judgment of yourself. You are too harsh, you cannot be critical. Oh, Raymond, you are so clever. Oh, my darling. Oh, she is beautiful. Beautiful. Look at the color of her eyes. Oh, and the cascade of her hair. And, oh, Raymond, the form, the beautiful form. Oh, who is she?
It is you, my darling.
Really?
Timothy,
Yes?
why do you find me so attractive, Timothy? Is it my figure?
No.
Is it my complexion?
No.
My conversation?
No.
I give in.
That's it.
Timothy.
I ordered some curtains 3 months ago. They still haven't arrived. I've telephoned countless times. And there is always some excuse. It's just not good enough. The last person I spoke to assured me they would be delivered immediately. That was 2 weeks ago, and I still haven't heard. What are you going to do about it?
Well, I suggest you come and talk to our complaints department, madam. This way. Here we are, madam.
Do you have a complaint, madam?
Nurse, would you send in the next patient, please? Thank you. Come in.
Good morning, Dr. Jarvis.
Good morning. Could you just stand there for a moment, please? Right, now, what seems to be the trouble?
I keep getting these sudden attacks.
And now the financial news. The slump in the world stock market continues. Today, consolidated stock, one of the most stable, has dropped a disastrous 50 points to an all-time low.
Oh, my God. Goodbye, old friend.
A subsidiary of consolidated stock, Fido Wonder Dog Foods, also dropped 50 points.
For all the dog lovers who are worried about their dog, let me tell you, we did put down some mattresses. Me, I was killed. The most important aspect of life is the unexpected. What I mean is, if you were to wake up one morning and you knew everything that the day held for you, you knew exactly what was going to happen, who you were going to meet, what you were going to say, what you were going to eat, what you were going to drink, you wouldn't get out of bed. You'd just stay there. And then all those things that were going to happen wouldn't happen. Therefore, you would have known that you weren't going to get out of bed. And if you'd known that, you wouldn't have thought about all those things that weren't going to happen anyhow. It must be very boring to know everything that's going to happen. God knows everything. I expect he spends all his day in bed. People always want to know what's going to happen to them. Always looking for the future. They read tea leaves, or they get cards read to them, or they read the stars, visit fortune tellers. A man who was terribly worried about whether he would go to heaven went to a fortune teller and said, I want to know if when I die I will go to heaven. And she said, cross my palm, it's silver. She took out the crystal ball She looked into it. And as she looked into it, it began to cloud over. There was a mist inside the bowl. And gradually it began to form into ancient symbols, which she gazed upon. And then they disappeared. And she said, "You will go to heaven when you die." There's one other thing. And he said, "What?" She said, "You're going today at 3:45. I had a yawn there in the middle of that. You see that? I went, You get a ventriloquist who's not a very successful ventriloquist, hears about mediums contacting the people in the afterlife, and he thinks, that's not a bad job. I can throw my voice. I can make a fortune as a medium. And he opens up. And the first customer walks in, and she said, "I would like to hear my husband speak from the beyond. And if I can hear my husband speak, I shall give you £100. And he said, "Madam, for £100, not only will you hear your husband speak, but you will hear him speak as I drink a glass of water." I suppose the greatest example of the unexpected is a man who knows that his wife is having an affair with the milkman and goes home expecting to find his wife in bed with the said milkman. But it's not. It's the baker in bed with the milkman. We all know that what we expect frequently doesn't happen. So I suppose that means that if we expect the unexpected, it no longer becomes unexpected. The unexpected becomes expected. Now, while you're trying to work that out, and I'm trying to figure out where I went wrong, I expect my glass to get filled, and you can have a look at some sketches. Good health. Cheers.
Oh, God. Oh, God, my head. Oh, ow. Oh, where am I? Oh. Oh, there. Come on, darling. Wake up. We're on our honeymoon. Oh. Oh, gosh. That was some wedding reception your father gave us. Ow. I don't even remember how I got here.
Neither do I.
Fanshawe, I'd like you to prepare yourself for a sudden shock.
Nothing. It's my plan, isn't it? I'll go first.
My bloody hook! My rope! Hurry up!
Hello, then. Who's a pretty boy, then? How about a nice kiss for the lady?
days in life used to be to go to the cinema. It was a day out. It had a sense of excitement. But nowadays, it's changed. The cinema is not what it was. The cinema today is not one cinema, it's 3 cinemas, 3 in 1. Studios 1, 2, and 3. Not only just go to the movies, you can eat there nowadays. You can have hamburgers, hot dogs, meat pies, ice cream. There's a bar if you want it. All you need is a sleeping bag and you can stay there for life. And the lavatories are incredible in cinemas nowadays. You can buy all sorts of things. You can buy tissues, soap, breath fresheners, hair oil, a little squirt of hair oil, squirt of He-Man deodorant. And you can also buy those little things that you can't buy in Ireland. So after about 2 minutes in there, you come down with your hair all slicked out, fresh breath, smelling like a big fairy with a contraceptive in your pocket. And all you've done is come to see Laurel and Hardy. It's a test of endurance now to go to the cinema. I mean, you go into the cinema, you sit down, the lights go down, and there's 10 minutes of adverts. And then the lights go on again. And there's an interval. And you sit there. And then the lights go down, and then there's 10 minutes of trailers. Followed by a boring travelogue on the day in the life of a ball-bearing maker. And then the lights go up again. And there's another interval. So you go and buy a hamburger that you don't want. And you have a couple of drinks that you don't want. And then you come back and you sit in the cinema. And the lights will go down. Have you noticed the noise in cinemas now? They never sell anything that's sold in nice, quiet paper. It's all sold in cellophane. And not only that, but the things that they sell, they're all noisy. Popcorn, nuts, crisps, apples, drinks that you can't drink, you gotta suck at. Then you come to see the pictures and you're sitting there amid a cacophony of... Whatever happened to nice, quiet food like marshmallows? And I always seem to sit when I go to the cinema, I always seem to sit in front of a fella that eats nuts. And for the first 5 minutes of the movie, he will sit there eating nuts, and for the next hour, sucking his teeth. Incredible. See the heroine about to be kissed by the hero. And slowly his lips come closer and closer, gradually drawing to the contact, and all behind me here. And if you smoke, it's like being a bloody leper. They stick you in a corner and people say, he smokes, look at him. So you sit and watch 75 minutes of the main feature, and what happens? There's another interval. And you get up and you go to the bar. And you have another drink, and another drink, and another drink, and another drink. And you go back to the cinema to see the second half of the picture, and you sit there and you can't understand it. You're in the wrong studio. So you go back to your own cinema, and the interval is still on. So you go back to the bar and have a couple more drinks. And you come back to your own cinema, sit down, you fall fast asleep. And you wake up and there's a woman sitting on a horse in a red uniform saluting you. And you get home, bad breath, indigestion, deodorant that's gone sour, you've got a hangover, you're half sober, half drunk, with a contraceptive in your pocket. And you try and tell your old lady, I've been to the pictures. You see, cinema, it used to be a pleasure, but not now. It's so long and drawn out. I mean, if we were to make movies, we'd get to the point much quicker. As a matter of fact, I suppose you could say that our next set of sketches would be our version of various movies, whether they be musical, action-packed adventure, romance, or mystery. Starting off with The Sound of Music and how we think it should have been made.
All right, then. 2 minutes to 0. UK Smith, Kowalski, Morelli, Palmer, you guys okay? All right, just before we go, a few words. You all know how badly important this mission is. You also know that our chances of coming out of it alive A 0. But you 6 men have been chosen because you're 6 men who love to fight. And I couldn't ask to have 5 better men than you 4. It's not only that you're men who love to fight, but if you believe in something as strongly as you 3 do, you're prepared to give up your lives for it. Makes me feel proud to stand here beside you 2, knowing that the pair of us will do our duty for God and country. If this mission is successful...
Hey! Wait for me! Wait for me! You think we can hold out, sir?
I don't think so. But if we go, we're going to take a few with us. To your right. Listen.
Yo-ho! It's the 7th Cavalry! Let's go and meet him, sir.
For 5 years I fought in the Holy Wars. For what? Salvation? No. Glory? No. The Great Plague sweeps my land, and yet I, who want to die, still live. Must I wait for death? Or shall I end it all now? With one quick stroke of my sword to find eternal peace? Yes, that is what I shall do.
Yes, that is the act of a coward. Hurry, Watson. I fear that we might be too late.
Yes, Holmes.
Fascinating, Watson. We have followed the murderer's footsteps to here, and they stop. Right here. Why?
Well, what I think, Holmes, is the man is...
Yes, Watson, one moment. Now, where could he have gone to?
Holmes, if you don't mind me saying...
Watson, please do not interrupt me.
Sorry, Holmes.
He cannot have vanished into thin air. There are no carriage tracks.
Ah, that was what I was... If you wouldn't mind me saying, that was what I...
He cannot have been rescued by balloon, otherwise we would have seen it. He cannot fly like a bird. And yet his footprints stop here, this precise spot. Why? That is the riddle, Watson. Why?
Holmes?
There is only one logical explanation, Watson, and by a process of elimination, I have solved this problem. Quicksands, my dear Watson. Quicksands.
My God, you're brilliant, Holmes.
I am.
Religion plays a very important part in everybody's life. Not only that, it plays a very important part in the economy of the country. Can you imagine if there was no religion? Think of the millions that'd be out of work. Nuns, priests, rabbis, monks, canons, cardinals, bishops, archbishops, the Pope, me. Very important thing, religion. The child walking with his mother. He says, Mommy, what is that big house over there? And she said, that is the house of God. He said, does God live in that house? She said, yes. He said, can I go in and see God? She said, yes, if you want to. So he goes in and comes out 5 minutes later. She said, did you see God? He said, no, God's away, but his mummy's scrubbing the floor. Question I'm asked regarding the Catholic Church and confessional. Whether, if you have not committed a sin or done anything wrong, do you still have to go to confessional? And the answer is no, you don't. That's why I haven't been for years. You actually start off going to confessional when you're 7 years of age. The first 7 years of your life. It's when you've reached the age of reason. You can tell right from wrong. The first time I went to confessional, I walked in and I didn't have anything to tell. I mean, what? I'm 7 years of age. What have I done? murdered anybody? Robbed anybody? Made obscene phone calls? I go, I'm making it up. I stole an apple. And I hate my brother. And I saw Mary Milligan's knickers. And the priest said to me, well, for your confessional, say 2 Hail Marys. So I went out, and a couple of minutes later I came back and I said, I'm sorry, Father, I only know one. The other man who goes to confession, he said, Father, he said, I'd like to confess sin. It's a week since my last confession, and I had sex 8 times last night with a woman. The priest said, what? He said, I had sex 8 times last night with a woman. He said, who is this harlot? My wife. Oh, my son, he says, having sex with your wife is a consummation of marriage. It is not a sin. Why are you telling me this? He said, well, who else would believe me? A lot of people think that religion is good medicine if it is taken in small doses. Well, can I offer you a small teaspoonful?
Reach it! Come on, reach it.
Can I help you?
Yes, please.
Anything else?
Yes, run like cow.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to say farewell to Samuel Smith, one of the world's greatest racing drivers, who for over 50 years thrilled racing fans everywhere. And even at the age of 75, Samuel still retained his incredible skills. Please rise and follow the coffin. Over the years, young Crispin has sung many anthems for us. And I know that he's given great joy and pleasure to you all. Be uplifted once more while young Crispin sings. Are you ready, Miss Pippin? Crispin?
Oh, for the wings of a...
Well, what the Lord giveth, the Lord take it away.
Excuse me, why is it everyone's waiting for confessional here, when there was no one over there?
Ah, well, you see, that's Father O'Hara over there. He's a bit of a demon in confession. You see, over here, you only get to say a few prayers for a sin, but over there, well, one of the old school, Father O'Hara. He's a really hard priest.
You what? You did what? You miserable little worm! Get out of here! Get out! Get out! I got to come in after you! Get out! Don't do that again! You understand that? Penance! All stations at a close! You, come here!
The most dogmatic person in the world is a person who's been converted from one religion to another. And they spend their life trying to impress upon other people the strength of their belief and, if possible, to convert people to their newfound faith. There was a Jewish fellow, actually, who became a convert to Catholicism. I suppose that's how it all started. Anyhow, this Jewish fellow becomes a Catholic. And after about 3 years of doing very good work, he has an audience with the Pope. Not only does he have an audience with the Pope, but he has a private audience with the Pope. And he's in there not only for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for half an hour. for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. This has never happened before. And all the cardinals are racing up and down the corridor, worried. And eventually one looks through the keyhole, and the Pope is sitting on his throne saying, Mr. Finkelstein, I am a Catholic. The Pope, discussing the existence of God with an out-and-out atheist, starts off very correctly, discussion. And as the hours go by, it gets more and more heated, and eventually the Pope turns to the man and he said, the mom! Get the mom! And you, come here. You are like a man who is totally blindfolded in a dark room looking for a black cat that is not there. Well, so with all respect, Your Holiness, I think there's great similarity between us both. He said, what do you mean, similarity? He said, well, as far as I'm concerned, you are like a man who is blindfolded in a totally dark room looking for a black cat that isn't there. The only difference is that you found it. Sometimes I tell gags about priests. It's a gag about a young Church of Ireland vicar who gets sent to a new parish on the west coast of Ireland. It's a very large parish. The roads are very craggy, and he has to cycle around. And occasionally when he's cycling around his parish, he meets the Catholic priest. And they're on nodding terms. They talk about kind of, how are you? It's a lovely day. Have you been fishing? How's the parish? Do you enjoy the church? And so on. This goes on for months. And one day the Catholic priest is cycling along, and he comes across the Church of Ireland vicar walking. He said, what happened to your bike? He said, it got stolen. He said, did it? Well, the same thing happened to me a number of years ago. And what I did, on the following Sunday, I prepared my sermon around the 10 Commandments, making special emphasis on thou shalt not steal. And about a day later, when I came out of the vestry, there's my bike. So what I would advise you to do on Sunday, address your sermon around the 10 Commandments. Remember, special emphasis on thou shalt not steal. And a week later, the old priest is cycling along, and coming up the road on his bike is a Church of Ireland vicar. And the priest said, it worked. The 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. He said, well, not exactly. He said, it's when I got to thou shalt not commit adultery, I remembered where I'd left it. There are some sketches that some of us enjoy doing more than others. Or to put it another way, there are some sketches that some of us don't enjoy doing more than others. But I think the next sketch is one sketch that we all enjoyed doing very much.
Bless us in these thy gifts, O Lord, which we are about to receive from thy bounteous table. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. we thank thee for thy gifts received at thy table. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Go in peace, brothers.